So look, brother, firstly, I deeply appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation.
You're very welcome. I appreciate you, man. We're very blessed to have you on our team and having our backs, and I'm happy to help you do this because you help us with a lot.
Good stuff. How would you summarize how you got JRD started? Like, how did you get motivated to want to go independent?
Well, that's a great question, Jesse. The reason what brought JRD to fruition was I was tired of working for the man and making him money, and it was putting a lot of stress and pressure on my personal life and my family life, always working for the man. So I figured instead of making him money, I should do it for myself, and that's kind of what started this whole fruition. It was a couple of years in that I realized that I just could not do it by myself, and I needed someone else to make this teamwork make the dream work. And so, we brought Trey on board, and, Trey was my apprentice electrician at one point in time and just really grew up and blossomed. And so I felt like he would be the best fit to help make this flower blossom.
Man, that's news. I did not know that he came on as an apprentice with you.
Well, actually, he used to be my apprentice when we worked at other electrical contractors. And
Ah,
so, yeah, I've been working with Trey since he was a first year apprentice. So, yeah.
man, that's good stuff. So how many years you been in the trade?
I've been an electrician for 18 years. I started in 2008. I graduated high school when I was 17, and I had to wait to become 18 to start a full-time position with electrical contractor. I remember being offered the position, and it was like, no way, man. That sounds like a career. Like, I'm just out of high school. Like, I don't even want a job, but I'm glad I took that path because it resulted in a great opportunity for myself.
100%. Man, so 18 years of experience as a master electrician. How does that translate into running a business?
Oh, well, that's a good question as well. As I'm an electrician by trade, I'm not a business owner by trade. So trying to bring in my knowledge and my skill strengths into having a different opportunity and running a business was very much so a learning curve.
For sure, for sure. So, in the time that you've been operating as a business owner, do you remember what it felt like running the business before you had like the weekly visibility into your numbers and the accountability that comes with the conversations that we have each week?
Yeah, I mean, before it was just running and gunning every day, getting up, trying to put out different fires and come up with plans and formulations. But now we got it locked down. We already know what we're doing all week ahead of time. We're already discussing today's operations along with tomorrow's operations. We've got someone pre-planning the work, someone ordering it, and then someone coming out and installing it. So it's a pretty smooth operation.
Man. So, how has that pre-planning process actually helped?
It's been beneficial. It was a little bit hard to try to get into the groove of things and learn out the new processes and plans, but everything, the more pre-planning you can do, the better the business is set up for success.
100%. Man, so we've been talking lately about tracking hours and the materials and all of those things and how it ties into cost of goods sold. Because when you look at your profit and loss statement and you see your cost of goods sold, whatever that percentage is, that doesn't necessarily mean anything if you don't like are like thinking
Watch the
about what
numbers.
goes right.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And it wasn't ever like that before. I never really knew where the business was at profitability wise, or whether we were just, working for free. And it took sitting down and crunching those numbers to be able to figure out what we needed to do to be set up for success. And it was something that I never have thought about being so important and crucial to the business until it took hours of going over it, reviewing it, and getting it beat into your head at the weekly meeting to really realize like this is a very crucial part of the business.
Yeah, man. So in that, I think a big part of what we've done together is really separate out all of the various things that are happening all the time because it's just a whirlwind of all of the things that you're doing, all of the things that Trey is doing, all of the things that Trinity is doing, all of the things that the team collectively are doing. So, in the process of us kind of mapping out man, Jake, you know what? It's probably better suited for me to really be on the operation side, while for Trey, it's probably best suited for him to take more grasp of the full sales process. How has it been from your perspective to kind of go through this whole process of taking all of the things that y'all have done collectively and more so kind of targeting and saying, all right, this is my piece, that's your piece, and like working together seamlessly? How has that been for you?
Well, there was a lot to that process. It took a bit to figure out what each individual had strong suits in and what they brought to the business. And so I self determined that I'm better in the field with operations, running the crew. Trey is very gregarious, personable, very knowledgeable. He makes a fantastic sales manager and is perfect fit for the sales department. Trinity is fantastic at crunching numbers, working the books, paying the bills, keeping us scheduled. You know, those are their strong suites. So with us being a bit of a yin and a yang, and we each have our own areas of expertise, we've determined that by taking multiple tests and figuring out what some people like to do, what versus other people don't like to do, has created an opportunity for the business to develop in a functional manner that takes away from the needs of one individual and makes it a need for multiple individuals.
Absolutely, bro. Like, you cannot tell me that underneath Trinity's shirt is not a S on her chest.
Yeah,
Like,
superwoman, superwoman. Yeah.
oh man. So with taking Nick from being the apprentice to crafting out a role for him to really grow into. I know when we were talking before, there was the chance that he would potentially be leaving the company. How has it been to watch him go from that potential outcome to like really owning a whole new lane?
Nick's an amazing individual. We're very blessed to have him on our side and our team as well. The growth and the development from Nick has been amazing. Obviously, he had a little bit of experience when he came in, and it was pretty cool because he taught me some tricks, and I feel like I was able to teach him some tricks. And I never really thought I would learn new things from an apprentice electrician, being a master electrician, but he sure did open my eyes to that. Not only has he taken on all of the field work, he's stepped up and started taking on more additional responsibility internally in the company, and he's invested and he's buying into it. Obviously, with more money comes more work and more reward, but he also was not scared to step up and take those roles on either. And pretty soon I see myself being replaced by Nick as the individual in the field that's going to do all the things that I do. And you know,
How does that feel?
that's the ultimate goal, man. Like, is to build the dream and make it good for everyone, and then be able to kind of step back. I want to be able to really take my hands off the reins and let this show run itself. And it seems like it's getting real close to that, thanks to my wonderful team and customers. Couldn't do it without them.
Man, incredible, incredible. So I know as when we meet on a weekly basis, we have a lot of conversations about how these little nuances tie together to achieve that goal of you being able to step away, because it takes a whole bunch of little things to go right in order for you to be able to step back, right? Conversely, when you got a bunch of little things not working, those are the things that keep you ball and chain to the everyday struggle. You know what I mean? In the time that we've been having those back and forth conversations, what's something that you believe now about business that you couldn't have even like imagined being possible or a reality before?
I remember when I was starting the process, everyone said, be a business owner. It'll be fun, they said. It'll be easy, they said. That's not the case. It takes a lot of diversity and investment in yourself and your team and others. And I would say that I always thought that I was a know-it-all until I stepped into the business coach training department and I realized that I basically just drink from a fire hose all the time. Feels like a fire truck's on standby all the time with the hose just out because it's a lot to take in, but it's good. It makes you feel good when you learn different sides of the business and the spectrum. And I would say the business coaching has been very beneficial for me because it's taught me how to look at things in a different perspective than I did before.
What would you say would be the biggest shift in how you view your business based on some of those conversations we've had?
Planning, effectiveness, coordination, like org charts and internal growth. Learning how to watch your numbers and knowing what those numbers actually represent was probably the hardest thing for me.
Man, what kind of clarity has having your org chart designed for you? What kind of clarity has that given you and your team?
Oh man, the org chart is amazing because it sets the standard for internal growth. Obviously, we don't want to outsource. We want to train in these guys step up and move forward in the business position as they've learned the methods of the madness, the procedures of operations, and things like that. So I would say that would be my answer to that.
Yeah, man. So because you are constantly coordinating and collaborating with other contractors around the city and the area more broadly. If another contractor came up to you and asked you, is coaching worth considering? What would be your honest answer to that?
Absolutely. I was very much so against it at the beginning. It was like, I don't need anyone to tell me what I need to do and how to do my business, but having someone to train you, educate you, teach you all of the things that you don't know, it's so fulfilling. And I would say to anyone that was ever considering hiring a business coach, I would say do it because it's worth it more than you know.
Man. So we've been talking a lot about the last man up strategy because, a lot of us watch sports, and in that kind of environment, whenever that someone goes down, it's designed that the next man just pops right back up and steps into place. How do you see that kind of strategy working within JRD?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I have the exact answer for that. I would say that I realized after things got busier that if myself or Trey or Trinity or someone misses a day, that there's really no one to fill that void. So with that being said, realizing the need and necessity to have someone available to even be able to address those questions or make the phone call or give the customer an answer, you got to have someone there that knows through internal growth the way the things are working and that they can relay that information. Without other people, you're just relying on yourself. And if you get sick or someone else gets sick, it just creates a whole void and creates a gigantic snowball that could turn into an avalanche. So it's very important to have someone on the backup roster ready to take over anything that may come up or unseen variables.
Right. So as you've been having those conversations with your guys and like really showing them the org chart and opportunities that exist for them, how has the org chart factored into how your team sees their opportunities?
Well, the org chart's great because when the guys don't even really know about all the different opportunities and variable positions that are available at this company because they're really just I'm an apprentice, I'm going to school, and I'm being trained mode. But as they start to see the framework of the business and all of the actions that go on behind the scenes and saying there is availability to fill these spots, what do you see that you might want to fill into? The guys enjoy that. They're like, I didn't even realize there was this opportunity. I thought I was just going to be working in the field with my tools on forever. And it's like, well, no, there is that opportunity. You just got to reach for it and you got to want it and own it.
100%. 100%. Man, so when we first started talking about the huddle meeting as a tool, from the time that we spoke about it, kind of talk me through what your initial thoughts were when we were talking about it to, you seen it being implemented to how things are flowing now through the huddle meetings?
Yeah, absolutely. At the beginning, I kind of felt like the huddle was like, this is a 15 minutes in the morning. That seems very repetitive. Like, we don't need to be doing this. It's taking away from the opportunity for us to start our business. Now we've incorporated it, and it's good. It's a camaraderie builder. It's a way for all of the people and individuals to talk together in the morning. We can talk about how many hours are planned for a day so that we can make sure we're executing the time frame hours that are pointed to that project. Having a good heads up of what other jobs and activities the other members of the team are doing helps you prepare in the morning and help set them up for success on top of helping set yourself up for success. So at the end of the day, it all boils back to teamwork makes the dream work. The huddle has increased our productivity, has increased our company communication. And at this point in time, I don't see it as an inconvenience in the morning. It's just the way things move forward, and that's how we go about our day. I feel like recording the conversations, as was recommended by my business coach, has also been a good way for us to look back and have reflection on what may have been discussed, said, or changes to the plan originally.
Man, speaking to that point, because as we look at the plan versus actual hours, that's like a real conversation. How has it been for you for that concept to really be introduced to you initially, and now you can truly sit back and see like, oh, we had this amount of hours allocated towards this job, but we actually went over it by this amount, or we came in under the time, but we weren't able to use that time, that extra available time, to bring in more revenue through more jobs. Like, how has it been to actually have the emphasis, the gaps between the planned hours versus the actual?
That's a really good question. Obviously, that's a very, very hard thing to predict or plan for. Obviously, most of your work is kind of speculated. Obviously, sales is selling the projects and it's kind of funneling down to the production crew of the install, but there will always be an unknown variable or something that you just could not see. It's electrical. It is not easy. If it was, everyone would be doing it. Back to the point of that, I would say it's very hard to know and plan and accommodate for what may be a very easy job prep and job cleanup at the end of day, or what might be more time consuming. So it's very much so hard to speculate the hours that will be spent on a day, because nothing is really set in stone. So I hate to use the word speculation, but that's typically mostly what the morning job hours could be, because you don't know. You might hit that nail on the head, or you might have not realized that there was going to be attic insulation blown through the entire house and property that you have to spend additional time cleaning up for. So being prepared and knowing how much time you have on that job and to try to prepare for that gives you a good idea of productivity, values, and time incorporation. But like I said, it's a unknown variable, because you could think you could do it in 4 and it might take 6. You could think it might take 8 and it might take 12. You might think it might take 12 and you might get it done in 8. So there's just no knowing.
100%. So, because we've had those conversations where we see the gaps between the actual and plan, but as we see those gaps, it gives us the opportunity to talk about what caused the gap. How has it been to, like, well, actually,
You're referencing root cause forms, essentially?
Actually, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
What role does that play?
Man, having a way to track like the unknown variables that happen on the job, instead of just talking about it, having a form to document it. This is what happened. This is what created an overflow of time, unpredicted. This person wasn't ready. The root cause forms has been huge for us, and it's allowed us to establish other procedures for general contractors and people that want to hire us for our services, of holding them accountable for our time value and our timelines as much as they hold us accountable for being there to install the project that they want completed. So
right.
It's documentation. It's either people or persons. Or sorry,
Process.
people or procedures. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh man. So contractors often get a bad rap because of what you were describing just a moment ago, which is it's like virtually impossible to plan for all of the different variables that are going to come up in a job. Can you give an example of something that you had to work through that was impossible for you to have planned it in advance because it just was there and you had to figure it out?
Oh man, there's so many different situations I could talk about. I'd say one was we were doing a project like up in Woodland Park, and we planned for all the work to be done and everything was planned, but what you can't plan for is the weather. And so we got up there, and the entire property was a mud pit. Couldn't drive vehicles down there. Had to carry all your material and tools and parts and everything from way up on the road into the project instead of being able to just back up to it. Obviously there's people that like to do things themselves to try to stay within budget and save themselves a little bit of money, which ultimately results in a little bit of struggle and legwork for the contractors or the subcontractors. Man, I don't really have a good.
Yeah, no, that's it. It is that definitely fits the bill. So, each week we're taking a look at the war board, which gives you true insight into like what happened last week so that we can compare that to the week prior, so that we can compare that to the quarter, so that we can compare that to last year. How has that frequency of looking at your data impacted how you see your business?
Having the weekly meeting and going over all of the performance, what the company's expenses were and all that has really brought a lot of light and attention to things that I didn't know that I needed to be looking at as regularly. So having the meeting every week really works on accountability for taking time to sit down and look at these notes and have a good idea of what you're going to be talking about with the business coach.
Right. Man, that's so Jake, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, man. I deeply appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. Each week that we meet, I can't speak to the level of fulfillment that I get to get you and Trey closer to being able to step away from the hands-on nature of what it is that you do every day. And, to see that progress happening, gradually over time, and like watching our relationship get stronger, because like you one of my boys, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And even though we're training and we're replacing people, this is my baby. I have only one other child, and this is my other baby, and we're just going to keep growing this thing. I don't know if I'll ever really be able to step away. I'm sure I'll always be hands-on, whether it's in the field, trying to help with calls or questions or quotes or permitting issues.
I'm gonna keep pushing you towards home services, because like I said, when we got all of these processes fully mapped out for you guys, what prevents you from hiring a carpenter to handle all of the carpentry work that needs to get done, or hiring a master HVAC technician to follow the same processes that you expect for master electricians to follow? I'm gonna keep pushing you, bro.
Fair enough. Sky's the limit at this point in time. I've got the team and I've got the coach, so nothing holding me back now.
Incredible. Well, again, thank you for doing this, my brother. Thank you,
man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, all that you do, me and Trey and Trinity, and man, you're a great dude, and glad to be doing this with you, bro.
Man, good stuff.
Thanks for all your support.
For sure, my brother. For sure.